Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. My name is Andrew, coming to you from the beautiful Carolinas. Today's topic is going to be how they moved on like you never existed. Think about that for a minute. Everyone, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and share. Pay it forward to someone who could use the wisdom and the education. I'll jump right in. The narcissist, how they moved on like you never existed. Well, first of all, if this was you, or perhaps you're experiencing it right now, drop comments below. The truth of the matter is, throughout the length of the relationship, the narcissist treated you as if you never existed anyway. You just didn't realize it. But at the end of the narcissistic relationship, which I will focus on in a moment, that is many times how they move on so quickly. And you can't wrap your head around it because, first of all, you weren't taught what narcissism was in school or is in school. Second of all, you found my channel, you're getting your first light bulb moment. Maybe this is the first video you're ever consuming on the topic. And if that's the case, you have a long road ahead of you. But believe me, in time, in your time, you will get the tools necessary to help you break the trauma bond and to move forward. That's for a whole separate video. Point being, how they move on as if you never existed. Think about when you met the narcissist in the very beginning, that euphoric stage, the love bomb stage, whatever you want to call it, the happiness, when you thought everything was puppies and rainbows, unicorns, and French fries, whatever. By the way, you should not eat French fries. Not good for you at all. I gave them up a long time ago. Don't eat French fries. Point being is during that beginning stage, what you were doing is you were being manipulated. You were being placed in a place that you were unaccustomed to occupying, meaning you were being trapped. You were eventually to be placed in that narcissistic fog, the zombie-like, trance-like state where you can't do anything but exist. And existing, you're doing that at a bare bones minimum. But even throughout that part, the narcissistic fog, you weren't being treated even close to properly. And one of the things they did to you is they devalued you, the narcissist, that is. So remember, let's go back. The beginning of the relationship, you fell in love with this person, or you went into business with them, or you loaned them money, or had kids, or moved around the globe, whatever you did, relocated, started up a website, who knows? But the narcissist knew the end game, and they knew that they were going to take advantage of you and manipulate you. That's what they were going to do, and they knew it. They also knew that that relationship that you entered with them had an expiration date. You did not know that. You thought that you were in a stable, healthy relationship, and it was a reciprocal relationship. Nothing could have been further from the truth. The truth is, this person figured out who you were and what made you tick and what your resources and or tools were, meaning your abilities, and they weaponized those against you. And they would tell you anything under the sun to make you believe that what they were telling you was true, when in fact most of it was nothing but manipulation. And they wanted to take away your assets and your resources. That's what I mention on the channel frequently. But having said that, how they move on as if you never existed, once that stage was over, the love bomb stage, let's call it, well, then you entered the devaluation stage, and right then they had already begun to move on. You just didn't know it. The reason why is because they had already sunken their dirty fangs into you. Perhaps you already created a business. Perhaps you already married them. Perhaps you already relocated. Perhaps you already loaned them money or purchased a property and put it under their name. Who knows what you did, but they now knew that they had you in a position where you were unaccustomed to being. In other words, remember, these relationships, it's almost as if you are sleeping with the enemy / playing a game of manipulation that you didn't even know you were a part of. And you certainly never knew you were sleeping with the enemy, but these people knew what you were. They saw your beautiful bright light, your empathy, your positivity, your love, your abundance, your caring. You're not giving, you're not stopping, you're not quitting, you're moving in the right direction. They saw all this and they weaponized that against you. That's why you found yourself working in the relationship, working for the relationship, trying to please the narcissist, trying to repair all of the holes in the boat that they were creating. In other words, they wanted that boat to capsize with you in it because they had a life raft coming for them, which was the new supply and or is the new supply. And I hope I'm not talking too fast, but they did not want you to make it. And they wanted to try their best to take you down on multiple levels: emotional, spiritual, mental, physical, financial, intellectual, your stability, your social circle, your network, everything I mentioned, they wanted to decimate it. And I do mean that. Having said all these things, when you were in the devaluation stage, they had already begun to move on. You just didn't realize it. Now, I'm not saying the new supply was in place right then and there, but what I will share, whether you married the narcissist or not, you were not the only source of supply. Yes, and keep in mind, I don't look at us individuals, human beings, as supply. We are bright, shining lights. We're beautiful people with positivity, and we want the best for the planet and for those loved and trusted ones around us. That's not what the narcissist wants. What they want is chaos, confusion, manipulation, distrust, mistrust. They don't want anything that is positive. They want to steal your abundance and take it away from you. And remember, again, as I mentioned so frequently on the channel, there is an energetic exchange between you and the narcissist. And what that means is they want to take your positivity, your creativity, your flow state, your natural vibration on a high level. They want to take it and change places with you. They want to inject their toxicity and narcissism into you. And they want the blackness of their soul to be placed inside of you, and they want to steal your bright shining light. Remember, on the planet there is positive energy and negative energy. There is black and white. You can differentiate between these two things. The narcissist sees only chaos and confusion. They see only destruction and manipulation. And if they encounter an empath or a person with a lot to offer, believe me when I tell you, it is like Thanksgiving dinner for these creatures, especially when you don't know who you are. In other words, perhaps you were a people pleaser, a yes person. Perhaps you couldn't say no, the strongest word in the English language. Perhaps you didn't know that you were an empath. Perhaps you didn't know what your worth was. If any and or all of those things were you, drop comments below. The point being, you're now finding the wisdom on my channel. You're now applying the tools. You're becoming awakened and aware, educated and empowered, and you understand that you are the priority, that you come first, second, and third. No longer do you put another individual in front of you. No longer do you drop anything you're doing to help out a complete stranger when your cup isn't full. In other words, you're now the educated empath. I created that video a few months ago. What it means is if you have recognized and or identified that you're an empath, well, you can give your empathy away to those you want to give it away to when your cup is full. But my hope is you're giving your empathy, time, resources, or love to individuals who will reciprocate with you. In other words, you're not a sounding board any longer. You're not a punching bag to be abused. You now know your value, and you want to vibrate high where you existed before you met the narcissist, and you will exist once you put yourself back together and you've healed. Having said all these things, how they move on as if you never existed, like I began to share, when you're in that devaluation stage, you were being tested. You were being pushed to your core. You were being pushed to your limits. Your resources were being decimated. You were pumping up another individual. The fragile ego of the narcissist is what you were holding up. Because remember, inside the narcissist, they are cowards. They're bullies. They're shallow. They're hollow. They're empty. There's nothing to them. There's no originality. There's no substance to these people. But what they did is they had you believing that they were the most important person in your life. And for a period of time, I'm sure they were, until you realized, wow, this person actually doesn't care about me. And they're treating me as if I don't even exist. And they did that throughout the relationship, not just when the relationship ended. Think about what I'm sharing with you. How many times did you text the narcissist when you were in the relationship? This is before you knew about narcissism. How many times would you text them a day and report back to them what you were doing, or where you were, or who you were with, or if they needed anything? You did that multiple times. And each and every time you did it, they looked at the text, they gave you an endless to-do list, or they ignored you, or they wrote one letter, the letter K, and they totally invalidated you. Or in other words, they acted like they didn't care. That's exactly the person that you were tethered to for a period of time, which was the length of the relationship. The thing is, back then, you were ignoring your instincts, you didn't trust your intuition, and you did not watch for red flags. You didn't pay attention to red flags. What you did is you put this other individual perhaps high on a pedestal to the detriment of yourself, to the betterment of that person, i.e. the narcissist, and you elevated them up. That's what you did. And you kept on experiencing abuse, including gaslighting, stonewalling, the silent treatment, rage fits, blame shifting. You experienced all of these things walking around in your own house that you purchased on eggshells, not getting sleep, losing weight, gaining weight, watching wedges be driven between you and your support system, which means your immediate family members, perhaps extended family members, your friends, neighbors, people in communities, organizations, schools, all these things, your work, your coworkers, all these things were being destroyed around you, and you couldn't wrap your head around it. You couldn't figure it out. Why? I'll tell you why. Because first of all, the narcissist was instilling most likely a smear campaign or negative rhetoric about you. And yes, they were doing this throughout the length of the relationship, I can assure you. That's number one. Number two is how they acted as if you never even existed. That's what they were doing throughout the relationship. You just couldn't identify it. Think about how many times you would come home. You would open the front door. First of all, you had to get through the first hoop. Would it be Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde when you would open the front door? Now, let's just say that the narcissist is in a good mood that day, and I think that that's Dr. Jekyll. Well, who knows? Point being, Okay, now you're like, wow, okay, they're in a good mood today, that's good. Then you would probably try to share something about your work day or what was going on at work. And what the narcissists do? Turn their back to you, act like they have a phone call, act like they have to make a phone call, do laundry, do the dishes, go in the backyard, water plants. We'll talk about this later, I have to walk the dog. Or can you just wait a minute, I'll be back, I have to go cut my nails. Whatever they would say, but they wouldn't be paying attention to you and they would be devaluing you. So now you have this thing called work that you're trying to share with them. You came home in the front door, you got the good version of the narcissist, which would happen 2 days out of 30, but the point being, even then they didn't care about you. They didn't want to listen to your concerns, your workplace concerns or anything, did they? Of course they didn't. They didn't care one bit. They wanted to watch you squirm when you two were communicating. They wanted to watch you report back to them so you would give them information that they would weaponize against you later. They wanted you reporting to them. They wanted you to tolerate their poor behavior or their lack of concern for you. So why I'm sharing all these things, as the thumbnail mentions, why they act as if you never existed. When they leave, they act as if you never existed. It's because throughout that whole relationship, even though you may have been married to them or not, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's a sibling, who knows? The point being, these people, they need you as a supply source or needed you as a supply source, but yet they don't want anything to do with you. They just want to know that you're around and they want to know that you're going to be there to make them feel good about themselves to the detriment of yourself. Think about what I'm sharing with you. Let's take social media for a minute. When you were in the relationship, were your pictures posted all over social media with the narcissist? Probably. They probably were. And then what happened? Throughout the relationship, those pictures began to dissipate. They began to slowly not appear on social media. I'm not going to mention the platforms, but you know what I'm talking about. Whatever those platforms were, eventually you were slowly being erased. You couldn't put your finger on it. You just thought that, oh, that's okay, my spouse or whoever it is, they're changing their social media approach or appearance in a different direction. Well, what they were really doing is they were appearing single and they were erasing you out of their life via social media. That's a huge red flag. Understand what I'm sharing with you. If you are in a loving or stable or healthy relationship, first of all, not everyone's on social media, I get that. But second of all, if you were, and or I can assure you the narcissist was, but if they were, and then in the beginning, all these pictures of you two being together and kumbaya and holding hands and you're the yin to my yang and you're the love of my life and you're my soulmate and all these things, they were smothered on social media for a period of time, I'm sure. And then slowly, as you became devalued, what would happen? They would be erased. Or, oh, I don't know what happened to those pictures. I don't know. Were they ever live? I don't know. I don't remember seeing those. Did you see those? I don't know what you're talking about. And then what would happen is they'd be gaslighting you, or the pictures would disappear, whatever you want to say, the memories. And then that was them erasing you. Why? Because your replacement was being groomed right then and there. You didn't know it. You're knowing it now on my channel. You're getting your first light bulb moment about this. This is what they do. That is why fast forwarding to the ending of the relationship, let's say you were discarded, and if you were, my heart goes out to you. Not a good feeling. It's one of the most challenging experiences to go through. Point being, if you were, why do they move on as if you never existed? Because they couldn't wait for a few things. One, they couldn't wait to be with the new supply because they believe the new supply is the cure. They believe the new supply is better than you. They believe the new supply is going to be the person that props them up. But also, the new supply, most likely, if they're not a recycled old supply, is someone who once was you, who didn't have the wisdom. They didn't and or don't know what they were up against. Now, you may say, well, that's not the case in my situation, Andrew. What the case is this person knew I was married, etc. I get it. Well, all I can tell you is what they have coming to them, well, they will get what's coming to them. And believe me, it's not puppies and rainbows wherever those people are right now. It's not. It's toxicity and negativity, and you should be grateful that you're not in it. Not trying to trigger you, but once you get the point of the healing path, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Point being is, when you were discarded or the relationship ended, they can move on so quickly because, number one, they couldn't wait to take that mask off, unsuper glue it from their face, smash it to the ground, and run for the hills. Why? Because that's what they do, first of all. Second of all, because they're not going to give you closure. Third of all, because they have found your replacement. And fourth of all, because they've taken everything from you possibly, which means your time, money, energy, health, effort, social circle, love, empathy, business, house, relationships with your own children or stepchildren. They've taken virtually everything, and they really know what they are doing. Don't think for a minute, these two things. Don't think for a minute that the narcissist does not know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And the second thing is, please understand one thing. Don't believe the narcissist can change for the better. They can't. They only get worse over time. Think about you when you met the narcissist. how they were when you first met them and how they were when the relationship ended. They were worse. They were nastier. They were more toxic. They had fine-tuned their skills even more than when you met them. This is what they do. It's a cycle that they can't get out of. What they would love to do, sincerely, is they would love to change places with somebody like you permanently. In other words, keep you trapped in the zombie-like, trance-like state, the narcissistic fog, the place where they vibrate low. If they knew that they could place you there and keep you there trapped and stuck, and they could steal your energy and vibrate high, naturally this is, they would do it in a heartbeat. But they can't. What they need to do is to vibrate low and stay stuck in their own narcissistic abusive cycle and try to trap people in it for a period of time, which usually is the length of the relationship. My point being, these people know where they are. They know they can't get out. They know what they're made of, and they know that they need to manipulate people to have them fall in love with them or go into business with them or loan them money or whatever they do, because that's what the narcissist is. They're a needy individual who is a shallow, empty vessel. There is no substance to them. Get what I'm sharing? So, as the thumbnail mentions, how they can move on as if you never existed, it's what they do. It's exactly what they do. That's how they thrive. That's how they go from person to person, business to business, relationship to relationship, blowing up everything in the wake of destruction that they leave behind them. That's what they know. That's why they can't introspect. That's why they can't love. That's why they have no empathy, because they flat out don't care about anybody but themselves. They do not care about anybody but themselves. What they do care about is money, to be fair. Money's their number one thing, if you want my take. But the point being, before I close the video, understand this. The narcissist is incapable of change. They can't introspect. They won't be accountable. And how they move on so quickly as if you never existed is because that's what they want to do. They don't want to have to bring up the memories of the past. They don't want to have to bring up the beautiful weddings that perhaps you experienced, or all the beautiful memories that you created together, because you did. Because then if they did that, then they have to actually identify that, yeah, maybe 10% of the relationship was like that, but the other 90% was destruction, manipulation, chaos, and confusion that they created. They don't want to have to be accountable. They don't want to go back to those days and say, yeah, wow, that was a great time, but then I blew it up like I blow up everything. No, they're just going to take their toys and go home. That's exactly what they do. That's exactly why these people cannot stay in healthy, stable relationships. They have to blow up every relationship they enter, because they can't just be. They need to have people believing in the false narrative of the mask. And believe me when I tell you, each and every relationship does, narcissistic relationship, it does have an expiration date. Trust me when I tell you. Guys, that's the video. I hope you liked it. I loved doing it from the beautiful Carolinas. This is Andrew. Namaste. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning, no matter where you are on the planet. You are not alone. Remember that. God bless you. I love you all. Keep this in mind. How the narcissist moves on so quickly like you never existed, it's what they do. They're never going to give you closure. They're never going to be accountable. All they're going to do is continue to prance around the globe looking for unsuspecting individuals who do not have the wisdom, who do not have the tools, who have not applied these lessons that I'm teaching you. That's what they're looking for. And yes, every once in a while, or maybe frequently, they will recycle past relationships. If the people that are being recycled are open to being recycled, well, that's on them. They probably either A, are a narcissist themselves, or B, aren't strong enough. They don't understand what they're up against. In other words, they haven't found my channel. You have. You're fortunate. Continue to move forward each and every day. Continue to believe in yourself, if not now, when, and continue to utilize boundaries. God bless you all. I love you all. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. Bye, you guys.